Welcome back to the channel. These stories are meant for late nights, quiet rooms, and headphones on. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me where you're listening from tonight. Now, let's begin the first story. I was a sophomore when this started. East Coast school. Private, expensive. The kind of campus where everyone walks like they know exactly where they're going, even when they don't. I was an English major, serious about grades, serious about law school after graduation, serious enough that I rarely skipped class and never half-assed assignments. That mattered later, though I didn't know it at the time. The class that changed everything was an upper-level seminar on romantic literature. Small room, old building, tall windows that rattled when the wind picked up. Only about 24 students, mostly juniors and seniors. I was one of the few sophomores, which made me feel like I had something to prove. The professor barely spoke. He let the teaching assistant run the weekly discussion sections. His name was Elias. Nobody called him that, though. Everyone called him Roar. I never knew if it was a nickname or his last name. Late 20s, stringy dark hair, always wore the same army green jacket, even indoors. He had the vibe of someone who used to play in a band that never went anywhere. Soft voice, slow smile, long pauses that made silence feel uncomfortable. Participation in that class was painful. Most students stared at their desks, waiting for someone else to speak. Roar hated it. You could see it on his face when the room stayed quiet too long. He'd start tapping his pen, shifting in his chair. Then he'd cold call people who clearly hadn't done the reading. It got awkward fast. There was only one person who consistently broke the tension. His name was Mason. Tall, broad shoulders, easy grin, brown hair that always looked like he'd just run his hands through it. He was in one of the top fraternities on campus, the kind of guy who walked into a room and seemed immediately comfortable, even in a class full of overthinkers dissecting 19th century poetry. Mason actually did the readings. Worse for the rest of us, he enjoyed them. He made jokes that landed, smart comments that didn't sound forced. He didn't dominate the room, but when he spoke, people listened. Even Roar relaxed when Mason talked. I ended up being one of the only other regular participants, partly because I needed the grade, partly because I loved literature. So most discussions ended up being a back and forth between me, Mason, and Roar, while the rest of the class quietly spectated. At first, Roar's attention felt professional, encouraging. He'd nod when I made a point, expand on something I said, write interesting insight in the margins of my first essay. He gave long feedback, real feedback, not the generic red pen corrections most TAs handed out. I was proud of that paper, proud enough that I called my mom about it. After that, things shifted. Roar started calling on me more than anyone else, asking me follow-up questions, holding eye contact a beat too long, smiling slightly whenever I spoke. I told myself it was because I was engaged in the class. That's normal, I thought. TAs latch on to students who care. It's fine. Then came the questions after class. Not academic, not entirely. How are you finding campus life so far? Are you living in the sorority house? You seem very disciplined. Do you always plan your schedules so tightly? I answered politely, short responses, nothing personal. I didn't want to be rude, but something about his curiosity made my skin itch, just a little. Around the same time, Mason started showing up everywhere outside class. Greek mixers, fundraisers, house parties, late-night food runs. It made sense, our houses partnered a lot. So naturally, we started talking more. He was easy to talk to, funny, relaxed, no pressure. After a few weeks, he asked me to get dinner. I said yes. One dinner became 3. 3 became nights spent in his room. It felt simple, no drama, no intense emotions, just comfort. I liked him, not obsessed, just content. Then one afternoon after class, I walked behind the humanities building toward the parking lot. I spotted Mason standing near the back entrance, smoking. Next to him was Roar. They were talking, laughing, like friends. I froze for a second, half hidden behind a pillar before they noticed me. Mason waved casually. Roar smiled, the same slow smile I'd seen in class. Later that night, I asked Mason how he knew Roar. He laughed. "I'm just making sure he likes me," he said. Gotta secure that participation grade. I teased him for being pathetic. He laughed again and kissed my forehead. I let it go. A week later, I stayed over at Mason's place. He fell asleep before me, snoring softly. His phone lay face up on the bed beside him, a video still playing. Curiosity got the better of me. I told myself I was just lowering the volume, just turning the screen off. That's what I meant to do. Instead, I unlocked the phone. He'd shown me his passcode once while ordering food. I remembered it. The photo gallery was right there. I wish I could say I stopped immediately. I didn't. There were pictures of me. Dozens. Some were normal, me walking to class, sitting in the library, talking with friends, things I'd never noticed being photographed. Others were intimate, private, shots taken in moments I never realized were being captured. Some were pictures I'd sent him myself, but many were not. My stomach turned cold. A crawling feeling spread across my arms. My breath felt thin. I locked the phone and put it back exactly where it was. Then I lay there, staring at the ceiling, pretending to sleep while my mind tried to rationalize what I'd seen. Maybe he just liked taking candid photos. Maybe he meant to show me later. Maybe I was overreacting. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't tell anyone. A week passed. Every time Mason looked at me, I wondered what else he had. Every time his phone buzzed, I wondered who else saw those photos. One night, when he fell asleep again, I unlocked his phone a second time. This time, I opened his messages. There was a thread with an unsaved number. No name, just a string of digits. Inside were my photos, sent one after another, over weeks. New photos, old photos, private photos, all forwarded to that number, sometimes with short messages underneath. Got more. She doesn't know. Class tomorrow, will update. I felt like I'd stepped outside my body, like I was reading someone else's life. I took screenshots of everything. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Then I woke him up. Not gently. I shook him hard, demanded to know who the number belonged to. His eyes widened, he stuttered, made up some story about a backup phone, about storing duplicates, about paranoia over losing data. It was a bad lie, a lazy lie. I left, walked out into the cold night air without shoes, didn't realize I was barefoot until I hit the sidewalk. The next week was a blur of panic, tears, and police reports. I won't detail it, I can't. But I will tell you this. The number belonged to Roar, my TA, the man who praised my essays, who asked about my life, who watched me in class with that slow smile. When the police questioned Mason, he broke quickly, told them Roar had paid him hundreds of dollars to gather photos, to send updates, to give access. It had started early in the semester, before Mason and I ever dated. Once the police got involved, everything moved faster than I was ready for. I gave my statement in a small office that smelled like old coffee and printer ink. A female officer sat across from me, calm and steady, while I tried to explain something that felt impossible to say out loud. That my boyfriend had been secretly photographing me. That my teaching assistant had been buying the photos. That it had likely been happening for months. They took my phone, they copied Mason's screenshots, they requested his device. They pulled class schedules, dorm entry logs, payment records. I didn't see most of it. I only heard fragments through lawyers and administrators and hushed conversations behind closed doors. Within a week, Mason was gone from campus. Expelled. No goodbye, no apology. Just vanished from the fraternity house overnight like he had never existed. Roar lasted a little longer. There were meetings, investigations, faculty committees, university legal teams. Then one day, his office door was closed, and the next day, his name disappeared from the staff directory. People whispered, they always do, but no one knew the full story. Not the payments, not the private photos, not the sick routine of it. The university kept details sealed, privacy policies, ongoing investigations, student protection. Outwardly, it looked like a TA fired for misconduct with a student, nothing more. Inside, I was unraveling. I stopped going to that building, took a different path to class, avoided the humanities quad completely. I changed my seat in every lecture, sat near exits, never let myself be alone in a hallway with a man I didn't know. I slept with my lights on for a while, then with a chair wedged under my door handle, then with headphones in so I wouldn't lie awake listening to every sound. I told my parents a simplified version. They were supportive, but terrified. They wanted me to transfer, but I refused. I wouldn't let them chase me away from my own life. By the next semester, things appeared normal again, on the surface. New TA, new discussions, new reading list, different faces. The campus kept moving like nothing had happened. Students laughed on lawns, frat houses threw parties, professors assigned essays. And slowly, I convinced myself it was over. Until the car. The first time I noticed it, I didn't think anything of it. A silver sedan parked across the street from the sorority house late at night. It wasn't unusual. We were near off-campus housing. People parked wherever they could. But the next night, it was there again. And the next. Always the same spot, always after midnight, always gone by morning. I started paying attention. No one got in or out. No lights flickered inside. No engine noise. Just a still, silent shape under the street lamp. I told myself I was being paranoid. Trauma does that, makes patterns out of nothing. But then one night, I came home late from the library. The street was nearly empty. The silver sedan sat where it always did. And as I walked past, I glanced into the windshield. There was someone inside. Just a silhouette, sitting in the driver's seat, head angled slightly toward the house, watching. My breath caught, my heart thudded so hard it hurt. I walked faster, didn't look back, didn't run. I didn't want to look like prey. Inside the sorority, I told myself I was imagining it, that exhaustion plus anxiety had filled in details that weren't real. The next night, I looked again. The car was there. This time, I didn't go near it. I watched from an upstairs window, lights off, curtain cracked just enough to see. The sedan idled. Then, after about 20 minutes, the headlights turned on. The car pulled away slowly, too slowly, like it was making sure someone saw it leave. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I asked around, casual questions. Did anyone recognize the car? Was it a neighbor's, someone's boyfriend, a delivery driver? No one knew. A week passed. The car kept appearing, not every night, just enough to make me anticipate it. I went to campus security, gave them the license plate number I had finally managed to write down from across the street. They told me they'd look into it. They always say that. Nothing came of it. Then, one night, the car wasn't there. I felt relief so strong it made me dizzy. Maybe whoever it was got bored. Maybe I had finally imagined the whole thing. I went to bed early. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no name, no picture, just a text. Still reading romantic poetry? My blood turned to ice. I stared at the message for a full minute before typing anything. Then I deleted what I wrote. Then I blocked the number. I told no one. The next night, the silver sedan returned. This time, I didn't hesitate. I called the police. I gave them the plate number again. I told them about the text. I told them about my past report. I told them I believed someone involved in the previous case might be stalking me. 2 officers arrived. They walked the street. They waited. The car never came. By the time they left, they suggested installing extra locks and avoiding walking alone at night. Standard advice. They didn't say it, but I heard it anyway. We can't help you unless something happens. After that, I stopped sleeping at the sorority. I stayed with friends, with classmates, with my cousin off campus. I rotated locations, never posted my whereabouts, never followed a routine. Eventually, the silver sedan stopped showing up. The texts stopped. Time did what it always does. It softened the edges of panic. The adrenaline faded. The chair left my door. The lights went off at night again. I graduated. I walked across the stage, smiled for photos, hugged my parents, pretended I was just another student moving on with her life. But here's the thing. Even now, years later, when I see a silver sedan idling too long at a curb, my chest tightens. When I notice someone watching instead of walking, I feel that old, cold pressure at the base of my spine. I never found out who sat in that car. I never found out if it was Roar or Mason or someone else entirely. I never received proof, only the feeling, the lingering certainty that what started in that seminar room never fully ended. Some stories don't get clean conclusions. Some doors close quietly without a final slam. and sometimes the last page is still being written. I wish I could tell you the story ended the night the silver sedan stopped appearing, that after graduation, everything simply reset, that I moved on, built a career, made new friends, dated again, forgot the past. But trauma doesn't vanish, it just changes shape. After graduation, I moved to a different city. New apartment, new job, new routines. I chose a building with controlled entry, cameras in the lobby, security patrols at night. I told myself I was being practical, not paranoid. The first few months were quiet, peaceful even. I focused on work. I explored cafes. I joined a book club. I didn't tell anyone about what happened in college. Not the photos, not the TA, not the car, not the text message. I wanted a life that wasn't built around fear. Then one evening, I came home from work to find a package at my door. No return address, just my name printed neatly on the label. Inside was a book, a worn copy of lyrical ballads, romantic poetry, the class, the course that started everything. My hands shook so badly I dropped it on the floor. There was no note, no card, nothing hidden inside the pages, just the book, old, used, margins faintly marked with pencil lines, as if someone had studied it once, loved it even. I threw it in the trash chute without touching it again. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I told myself it was a coincidence, wrong address, someone pranking, a mistake from a secondhand bookstore. Anything but what my instincts screamed. Weeks passed. Nothing else arrived. No messages, no cars, no strange men lingering outside windows. I relaxed again, just a little. Until the email. It came from an unfamiliar address. No name, just a string of letters. The subject line read, "Still pursuing law?" I deleted it without opening. Then another arrived the next day. "Hope you're reading." Delete. Another. "Some poems never end." Delete. Block. Filter. I reported it to my building management. They told me to contact law enforcement if I felt threatened. I didn't, not yet. There was nothing concrete, no direct threat, no proof, just words that felt like fingerprints on my skin. Then one night, months later, I noticed something in the lobby. A man standing near the mailboxes. Tall, lanky, hood up, hands in his pockets, not doing anything, just there. I slowed my steps. He didn't look at me, but he didn't leave either. I passed him quickly, took the elevator, locked my door, looked through the peephole. He never came upstairs. The next night, he was gone. I told myself I had imagined him, or that he lived there, or was waiting for someone else. But the old pattern had returned. And once you've lived through something like this, your mind never fully believes in coincidence again. I changed routines, took different elevators, came home at different hours, ordered groceries instead of shopping in person, avoided social media, never posted my location. Life shrank. Not dramatically, not visibly, but quietly, like a room slowly closing in. One rainy night, I was sitting on my couch when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. Miss our discussions. No name. No threat. Just familiarity. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then I took a screenshot, and I called the police. This time, I didn't downplay anything. I gave them the college incident number, the investigation records, the expulsion documents, the previous reports, the emails, the text messages, the package. They took it seriously, more seriously than before, because now there was a pattern, a documented history, a timeline. They traced the email, the IP address bounced through public networks, coffee shops, libraries, nothing conclusive. The phone number was a prepaid line, no registered owner, dead ends. But the officer told me something important before he left. Sometimes closure isn't catching the person, It's making it harder for them to reach you. So I took every step I could. Changed my number, changed my email, changed my locks, upgraded my building security, installed my own camera, told my employer's security team, told my friends, told my family, everything I'd kept hidden for years. And slowly the messages stopped. The lobby stranger never returned. No more books, no more texts, no more emails. Months passed, then a year. I began to breathe again. I started dating cautiously. I let people get close. I went out at night without scanning every parked car. I read again, even poetry eventually, though never romanticism. Then one afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. A male voice, older, professional. He introduced himself as a detective from the city where I'd gone to college. He told me there had been a recent development in an old case, a data recovery from a seized device in an unrelated investigation, files connected to my name, my case number, my photos. Roar. He had been arrested in another state on charges involving multiple students over many years. My case was one of many. The photos, the payments, the communications, everything had been recovered. The detective told me I wouldn't need to testify unless I wanted to. The evidence was overwhelming. The pattern was undeniable. There would be no plea deal. He asked me if I was safe now. I said yes. After I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Not relief, not satisfaction, just something like the last exhale after years of holding breath. I still don't know if the silver sedan was him, or Mason, or someone else entirely. I don't know who sent the texts, or the book, or stood in my lobby. Maybe it was one person, maybe it was different shadows wearing the same shape. But I do know this. My story didn't end in a courtroom. It ended in survival. Quiet, unseen, ongoing. Some horrors don't crash through doors. They linger in inboxes, in reflections, in parked cars, in familiar words sent from unknown numbers. And sometimes the scariest part isn't what happened. It's knowing how easily it could happen again. To anyone, anywhere, at any time. My name is Mikey. I'm 22 years old, and until 2 weeks ago, I believed I understood fear. I was wrong. Real fear is quieter than you think. It isn't screaming or running or horror movie chaos. Real fear is waking up in the dark and realizing something is already in the room with you. I live with my parents in a mountain town in Northern California, not the version of California people imagine. No beaches, no palm trees, just endless pine forests, narrow roads, and snow that swallows sound. At night, the world out here goes silent in a way that feels unnatural, like someone pressed mute on the universe. Our house sits alone on a winding road 10 minutes from the nearest neighbor. It's a single-story home with creaky wooden floors and old heating vents that sigh when the furnace kicks on. My parents' bedroom is at one end of the hall, mine is at the other. Between us is a guest room packed with forgotten boxes and an old treadmill no one uses anymore. The living room opens straight to the front door, a big glass panel framed by thin curtains that never quite close properly. I've lived here my whole life. I know every sound the house makes. The wind that rattles the gutters, the ice that drops from the roof, the soft ticking of the thermostat. When you grow up somewhere this quiet, you learn the difference between normal noises and wrong ones. 2 weekends ago, my parents left town for a wedding overseas, Portugal of all places. My mom was excited, my dad pretended not to be. I didn't go, I wasn't invited, and honestly, a free weekend alone sounded perfect. No curfew, no small talk, no pretending I had a 5-year plan. The first night alone was exactly what I expected. I ordered pizza, played games until late, and went to bed around 2 in the morning. I locked the front door. I always do. I checked the window latches. Habit. My parents raised me on nightly reminders that isolation is peaceful until something goes wrong. I fell asleep quickly. The second night started normal. Too normal, in fact. I watched a movie in the living room with the lights off except for the TV glow. Snow fell outside, fat flakes drifting past the window. Around 1:30, I turned everything off, locked the front door, and walked down the hall to my room. Before getting into bed, I slid my closet door closed. I do this every night, always. The door is loose and tends to slide open on its own if not fully shut. When I was a kid, I used to imagine things inside the closet, stupid childhood fears, but the habit stuck. Closet closed, door locked, lights off, bed. I fell asleep faster than I expected. I don't know how long I slept before something pulled me awake. Not a dream, not a noise, just that sudden, sharp feeling that you are no longer alone. My eyes opened to darkness, thick, heavy darkness, the kind that feels like it has weight. I lay still, listening. No wind, no furnace, no ticking. Silence. Then I noticed it. The closet door. Open. I stared at it. My brain tried to tell me it had always been open, that I had forgotten to shut it, that I was half dreaming. But I knew better. I never leave it open. Never. My heart started to beat faster. Not pounding yet, just quick enough to notice. I turned my head slightly and reached for my phone on the nightstand. My hand shook as I tapped the screen. I flicked on the flashlight. White light exploded into the room. And there they were. Two figures, standing at the foot of my bed. Not moving, not speaking, just standing there, facing me. For a second, my brain refused to process it, like a buffering screen stuck at 0%. Then reality slammed in all at once. Strangers were in my bedroom. Before I could even make out their faces, they reacted. Both figures moved at the same time, fast and fluid. Too fast. One darted toward the closet, the other toward the bedroom door. I swung the flashlight beam wildly, trying to track them. The light caught glimpses. Dark clothing, gloves, hoods. No skin, no features, just shapes that knew exactly where to go. Something metallic clattered on the floor beside my bed, a sharp sound that cut through my racing heartbeat. I screamed. Not words, just raw noise. The figures bolted. Heavy footsteps hit the hallway. The floorboards creaked in rapid sequence. Then the front door slammed so hard the entire house shuddered. I didn't think. I ran out of bed and into the hallway. By the time I reached the living room, the front door was wide open, icy wind blowing snow into the house. They were gone. I stood there, barefoot on the cold floor, chest heaving, trying to understand what had just happened. My phone flashlight flickered in my shaking hand. After a moment that felt like hours, I ran back to my bedroom and locked the door. Only then did I turn on the overhead light. That's when I saw it. On the floor beside my bed lay one of my mother's kitchen knives. Not a small one, a long, sharp carving knife, the kind used for holidays. I stared at it, unable to move. They hadn't just broken in, they had stood beside my bed, with a knife, while I slept. A wave of nausea hit me so hard I had to sit down. My hands trembled as I called 911. I told the dispatcher everything in a shaky rush. Strange men inside my room, a knife. They ran, my parents were out of town. The police arrived about 20 minutes later. 2 cars, flashing lights painting red and blue across the snow. They searched the house, the yard, the tree line near the road. Nothing. No footprints. Fresh snow had already covered everything. Inside the house, every window was locked, every door was locked, except the front door. The officer looked at me with tired eyes and said the only explanation was that I'd forgotten to lock it. I told him I hadn't. I always lock it. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't believe me. No forced entry, no damage, no witnesses, no suspects, just my story and a knife on the floor. By dawn, they left. The house felt different after that. smaller, less safe, like the walls were thin paper pretending to be shelter. When my parents returned the next day, they were furious, not at the intruders, at me, for forgetting to lock the door. No matter how many times I said I locked it, they shook their heads like I was a child making excuses. I stopped arguing. It's been 2 weeks now. I still sleep with the lights on. I still check the closet door 3 times before bed. I still lock every door, twice. But none of that changes one thought that sits in my mind every night when the house goes silent. If they got in once without leaving a trace, they can do it again. And next time, I might not wake up in time. I didn't sleep at all that night. After the police left, after the sky turned gray, after the wind stopped howling through the open front door, I sat on my bed staring at the knife in an evidence bag on my desk. They'd let me keep it after dusting it for prints. There were none. Of course there weren't. By sunrise, I'd convinced myself the worst was over. Whoever they were, they ran. They didn't come back. Maybe it really was a burglary gone wrong. Maybe I'd just woken up at the exact moment they entered my room. That explanation almost worked. Almost. Except for one detail that wouldn't leave me alone. They were already inside my bedroom when I woke up. Not walking in, not opening the door, already there. I tried to shake it off when my parents came home. They hugged me, told me how sorry they were I'd been scared, then quickly shifted into practical mode. New locks, extra deadbolts, a security camera, motion lights. My dad installed everything within 48 hours. By the 3rd day, the house looked like a fortress, and yet I felt less safe than ever, because none of those things explained how they got in the first time. Days passed, then a week. I returned to normal routines, grocery runs, video games, short shifts at a ski rental shop in town. I smiled when customers joked about the cold. I laughed at my parents' dumb TV shows. I pretended I was fine. But every night when the lights went out, I listened. For footsteps, for doors, for breathing that wasn't mine. Nothing happened. Until the 12th night. It started with the security camera app. My dad insisted I keep it on my phone. The camera faced the front door and driveway. Motion detection would send a notification if anything moved outside. It had been quiet since installation. No false alarms, no glitches. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I froze. The house was silent, my parents asleep down the hall, the heater humming softly. No wind, no storm, no branches moving. I topped the notification. The camera feed loaded. Greeny, black and white night vision. Our driveway covered in snow. The front porch light casting a dull glow. And at the edge of the frame, right where the driveway meets the road, stood a silver sedan. Engine off, lights off, just sitting there. I zoomed in. The image pixelated, but the shape remained. A 4-door car, parked halfway in the road, halfway in our driveway, as if whoever left it there didn't care about being seen. My mouth went dry. No movement inside the car, no headlights, no interior light. Just a vehicle that hadn't been there when we went to bed. I stared at the feed for a long time, waiting for something to happen, for a door to open, for someone to step out. Nothing. After 10 minutes, I forced myself out of bed and tiptoed to my parents' room. I woke my dad. He followed me back to my room as I showed him the screen. He frowned. "It's probably someone who pulled over," he said. "Maybe they got stuck in the snow." "Then why are the lights off?" I whispered. He didn't answer. We watched together. Another 10 minutes passed, still no movement. Finally, my dad grabbed his jacket and said he'd go outside to check. I begged him not to. Something about that car felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain, but he was already pulling on his boots. We went together. The cold hit like a slap as we stepped onto the porch. Snow crunched under our feet.
Our breath fogged the air. The sedan sat exactly where the camera showed it. Silent. My dad called out, "Hello? You all right in there?" No response. He walked closer. I stayed on the porch, heart pounding. He knocked on the driver's side window. Nothing. He tried the handle. Locked. He walked around the car, shining his phone flashlight through the windows. Empty. No one inside. My dad looked at me with confusion. The car had no plates. Not front, not back. Just smooth metal where the plates should have been. A wave of dread washed over me so fast I thought I might pass out. We went back inside and called the police again. By the time they arrived, the car was gone. Vanished. No tire tracks, no engine noise, no headlights leaving the road. Just gone. The officers were polite but skeptical. They checked the camera footage, they checked the driveway, they asked questions. Then they left. Again. That night, I realized something important. Whoever had been in my room wasn't done. They were watching. The next few days blurred together. I barely ate, barely spoke. Every vibration of my phone made my heart skip. Every car that passed the house made me check the camera feed. Nothing. No alerts, no strange cars, no footsteps. But I knew better than to feel safe. On the 15th night, I woke up to a sound. Soft, barely there. A slow, sliding noise. I didn't move. I didn't open my eyes. I already knew what it was. My closet door. Opening again. A thin line of colder air brushed my face. My heart beat so loudly I was sure whoever stood in the room could hear it. But this time I didn't turn on the phone flashlight. I didn't scream. I didn't move. Because fear had turned into something else. Understanding. These weren't burglars. These weren't random intruders. They weren't here for my parents. They were here for me. I lay frozen as that breath hovered beside my bed. A hand brushed lightly against the blanket near my foot. Testing. Measuring. Then a whisper. So faint I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Awake again. I don't remember screaming this time. I don't remember jumping up. I only remember light flooding the room and the closet door slamming shut so hard it shook the wall. My parents burst in moments later. No one was there. Nothing out of place, no footprints, no knife. Just me, shaking in a room that felt too small to contain the terror sitting in my chest. We left that house the next day. We're staying with relatives now. My parents think moving is a temporary solution while we sell the property. They're wrong, because every night before I fall asleep, I hear the same whisper in the back of my mind. Awake again. And I know wherever we go next, it will follow.
We moved 3 towns away. Different forest, different road, different house. My parents told everyone it was for a fresh start. Lower taxes, quieter neighborhood, a place where I could relax after what happened. They never said the real reason out loud, but I saw it in how my mother triple-checked the locks every night, and how my father slept with a baseball bat beside his bed, and how neither of them ever questioned me when I said I didn't want my bedroom closet door installed. The new house had no closets in the bedrooms, just wardrobes, solid wood. No sliding doors, no gaps. For the first week, I slept better than I had in months. No footsteps, no whispers, no security alerts. The silence felt earned. Until the 8th night. I woke up thirsty and checked my phone. 2:41 a.m. No notifications, no motion alerts, no missed calls. I went to the kitchen for water. Halfway down the hallway, I noticed something odd. The front door. It was slightly open, just an inch, a line of cold air creeping into the house. I knew I locked it before bed. I always did now, even if my parents watched me do it. Slowly, I pushed it closed. The lock clicked into place. Then I saw it. On the outside porch, barely visible through the frosted glass, a footprint, in fresh snow, pointing toward the door, but no matching prints leading away. I didn't wake my parents. I don't know why. Maybe I was tired of hearing "It's over, Mikey." Maybe I wanted proof, something real, something undeniable. So I wiped the footprint away with my sleeve and went back to bed. The next morning, I told no one. Days passed, again. Normal life returned in fragments. I got a job at a small grocery store. I met a girl. I laughed at things again. I almost felt human. Almost. Then, one afternoon, I came home early. My parents were still at work. The house was empty, quiet. I walked into the living room and stopped. The wardrobe in my bedroom stood in the hallway, not toppled, not dragged, placed, exactly centered in the hall, facing my door. My bedroom door was open. I hadn't left it open. I didn't go inside. I didn't touch anything. I walked out of the house, sat on the porch steps, and waited for my parents. When they arrived, my mother thought I was playing some kind of joke. My father didn't. He walked through the house slowly, checking every room, every window, every lock. Nothing missing, nothing damaged, except the wardrobe had moved. We set up more cameras that night, inside and outside, every hallway, every entrance, every window. If something came back, we would see it. The first night, nothing happened. The second night, nothing happened. The third night, I woke to a camera notification. Motion detected. Hallway. I opened the app. The feed loaded. Black and white night vision. The hallway outside my bedroom. The wardrobe sitting against the wall where we'd put it back. And then, movement. The wardrobe door, slowly opening. No one touching it. No visible hand. No shadow. No figure. Just the door creaking open by itself. Then the camera feed froze, buffering, connection lost. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I ran to my parents' room. My dad grabbed his bat. My mom called the police. We waited in the locked room until the officers arrived. When we checked the hallway, the wardrobe door was closed again. The camera feed had no saved footage of the event, just a corrupted file, unplayable. The officers suggested faulty wiring, Wi-Fi interference, old house issues. My parents wanted to believe them. I didn't, because that night, when I lay in bed facing the wall, I heard it again. A breath. Close. Too close. And the whisper. Still awake. I didn't scream this time. I spoke back. What do you want? Silence. Then something brushed my hair, gentle, almost affectionate. You. I don't know how long I lay there frozen, eyes open, afraid to blink. When morning came, I made a decision. I packed a bag. I told my parents I was leaving for a while, staying with a friend, taking a break, clearing my head. They didn't argue. They looked relieved, as if part of them hoped distance would save at least one of us. I've been moving ever since. Couches, spare rooms, short leases, motels, anywhere with people around, noise, light, crowds. I don't sleep in darkness anymore. I don't close my eyes for too long. I don't stay in one place for more than 2 weeks. Because sometimes, in the corner of my vision, I see it. A wardrobe door, a closet gap, a dark shape standing just out of sight. And every once in a while, when I'm drifting off, when my guard is down, I feel a breath near my ear, and the whisper, awake again. I don't think it ever wanted to kill me. I think it just wanted me to know it exists. And now that I do, I'm not sure I'll ever be free of it. My name is Alina. 3 months ago, I finally moved out on my own. Not because I had to, not because of some dramatic fallout. I just wanted space that belonged only to me. No roommates, no shared fridge, no thin walls filled with other people's arguments and laughter and late night cooking. I found a small apartment on the second floor of a quiet complex just outside Minneapolis. The kind of place built in the early 2000s. Beige siding, outdoor staircases, a single long parking lot running through the middle like a dead road. Trees lining the back fence. No playground, no pool, nothing that invited people to hang around. Perfect. I worked remotely as a graphic designer, so I spent most of my time at home. I liked it that way. Coffee in the morning, laptop on the counter, rain topping against the window in the afternoon, silence at night. For the first few weeks, nothing felt unusual. I learned which neighbors slammed doors, which cars belonged to which apartments, which light flickered in the hallway. Normal patterns. Then I noticed him. The first time was forgettable. I was hauling groceries up the stairs when I passed a man going down. Late 30s maybe. Baseball cap pulled low, gray hoodie, hands in pockets. He moved to the side at the same time I did, that awkward little dance strangers do in tight spaces. He muttered sorry without looking up and continued down. I didn't give it another thought. The second time was in the parking lot. I was sitting in my car, scrolling through my phone before going inside. I saw him standing near the far fence by the dumpsters, not throwing anything away, just standing there, facing the building, still. When I looked up, he turned and walked away toward the far exit of the lot. Weird, but not alarming. The third time changed things. I was on a client call in the afternoon, sitting at my desk that faced the window. Mid-sentence, I glanced outside. A dark blue sedan was parked across the lot. Engine off, someone sitting in the driver's seat. Not getting out, not on their phone, just facing forward. Facing my building. Facing my floor. I stared for a few seconds before forcing myself back to the call. 10 minutes later, I looked again. The car was gone. That night, I told myself I was overthinking. People park, people wait, people sit in cars. Cities are full of coincidences. But once your brain catches a pattern, it doesn't let go. After that, I noticed him more. The man in the gray hoodie, walking through the lot, standing by the stairwell, sitting in that blue sedan on different days, never doing anything illegal, never approaching me, never speaking, just present, always present. I started timing my blinds, open in the morning, half closed in the afternoon, fully closed at night. It made me feel safer, even though I didn't know what I was protecting myself from. Then came the night at the diner. I go to the same 24-hour diner twice a week after late gym sessions. It's 15 minutes from my apartment, off a side road that leads nowhere else. You don't end up there by accident. I was sitting in a booth, headphones in, scrolling my phone, when I felt that strange instinct that tells you someone is looking at you. I looked up. Gray hoodie, baseball cap, sitting alone in a booth near the back, a coffee mug in front of him. No food, just sitting, looking in my direction. My stomach turned cold. I told myself I was imagining it, that my anxiety was inventing monsters out of strangers. But when I stood to leave, he stood too. I walked fast, not running, just purposeful. Out the door, across the lot, into my car. Locked the doors, hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I looked back at the diner, I didn't see him. I didn't wait to find out if he'd followed me. I drove home through back roads, random turns, circling neighborhoods, anything to break a tail I wasn't even sure existed. When I got back, I sat in the dark of my apartment, watching the parking lot through a narrow slit in my blinds. At 1:47 a.m., the blue sedan rolled into the lot. Slow, careful. It parked in a space that faced directly towards my building. The headlights turned off, the engine stayed silent, and someone sat inside. Not moving, not leaving, just watching. I called the police. I felt ridiculous doing it. What was I going to say? There's a guy in a car who keeps showing up near my home and it makes me uncomfortable? Still, I called. The officer was polite. He asked if the man had threatened me, approached me, followed me, tried to enter my home. No, 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 no. Then there wasn't much they could do. They sent a patrol anyway. By the time the car arrived, the blue sedan was gone. No one else in the lot, no suspicious activity, nothing to report. The officer advised me to keep a log, times, dates, photos if I could, and to call again if things escalated. For a week, nothing happened. No man, no car, no hoodie, no diner sightings, no silent parking lot watchers. I relaxed, I breathed again. I told myself my mind was playing tricks on me. Until I found the note. It was slipped under my door sometime overnight. Simple handwriting, one sentence. You sleep with the blinds open. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just sat on the floor staring at the paper as the meaning sunk in. Someone had been inside the hallway outside my door. Someone had watched me sleep. I moved out 2 weeks later, paid the lease break penalty, packed my things, left the key on the counter, never looked back. I moved in with my parents in a small town an hour away. Quiet street, familiar faces, front porch lights that stayed on all night. For a month, I slept peacefully. Until one evening, driving back from the gym, I saw a dark blue sedan parked on a side street 2 blocks from my parents' house. Headlights off, engine silent, and someone sat in the driver's seat, watching. And that's when I knew. Leaving didn't end it. It only moved the game. The blue sedan didn't move. I drove past it once, forcing myself not to turn my head too obviously. Just a quick glance in the side mirror as I passed. Same car, same shape, same deep navy paint, same dark tint on the windows. I couldn't see the driver this time, but I didn't need to. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. My mouth was dry. I told myself to keep going. Don't panic. Don't do anything reckless. Just get home. I turned onto my parents' street. Quiet, suburban. Every house with a porch light glowing warm yellow. Lawns trimmed, trees still, safe. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a moment, staring at the garage door. Then I told myself I was being ridiculous. It could have been a similar car. There are thousands of blue sedans in the world. I hadn't even seen the man inside. I hadn't seen the hoodie. I hadn't seen the baseball cap. Just a car. That night, I didn't tell my parents. Not yet. I didn't want to sound hysterical. I didn't want them to worry over a coincidence. I double-checked every lock, closed every blind, turned on a lamp in the living room so the house never went fully dark. Then I tried to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight and normalcy. My mother making coffee, my father reading news on his tablet, birds outside, dishes clinking. The blue sedan felt like a bad dream until I saw it again. 3 days later. This time in the grocery store parking lot. I had gone out in the afternoon to pick up a few things. I parked near the entrance, walked inside, grabbed milk, bread, and some fruit. 10 minutes tops. When I came back out, I saw it. Parked 2 rows away. Navy blue sedan, engine off, windows tinted, front end angled slightly toward the store entrance. I froze mid-step. A woman pushing a cart walked past me. A child dropped a toy. Someone loaded groceries into their trunk. Normal life continued around me, but I couldn't move. I stared at that car, willing the driver to step out. No one did. I told myself to walk to my own car. Just walk, act normal. If I ran, I'd look insane. If I stood still, I'd look suspicious. So I walked. I got into my car, locked the doors, started the engine, and waited. 30 seconds passed, a minute, 2. The blue sedan didn't move. Not until I pulled out of my space. Then slowly, it started too. My heart slammed against my ribs. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to turn this into some horror movie in my head. So I told myself a new lie. We're just leaving at the same time. But when I turned left out of the lot, the sedan turned left too. When I took the next right, the sedan followed. I drove 2 blocks past my parents' neighborhood, past houses I recognized, past the park where I used to play as a kid, past the small library. The sedan stayed behind me. Not tailgating, not aggressive, just close enough to know it wasn't chance anymore. I pulled into a gas station. The sedan kept driving. I sat there, shaking until I couldn't anymore. Then I called the police. This time they took me more seriously, because this time I had something tangible, a repeated vehicle, a pattern, a move to a new address, continued presence. They asked me to come into the station and give a statement. I told them everything: the apartment, the parking lot, the diner, the note, the move, the sightings. The officer listened carefully, wrote everything down, nodded in the right places. Then he asked the question I dreaded. Do you have a description of the person? I thought of the gray hoodie, the baseball cap, the awkward stairwell dance, the diner booth. But every time, I'd never truly seen his face, never clearly, never long enough, never in good light. I'm not sure, I said. He sighed gently, not frustrated at me, just aware of how difficult that made things. They filed a report, promised to keep an eye out, asked if I had photos of the car. I didn't. That night, I told my parents everything. My mother cried, my father got quiet in that way men do when they're trying not to show fear. He installed new locks on every door, bought motion lights for the driveway, set up a camera over the front porch. For a week, nothing happened. No blue sedan, no man, no parking lot ghosts, no diner echoes. I began to breathe again, until my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. No name, no photo, just a plain string of digits. The message contained no greeting, just one sentence. I liked your old window better. I read it 3 times before it made sense. He knew where I used to live. He knew which apartment was mine. He knew which window was mine. And now he knew my phone number. I blocked the number immediately. Then another message came from a different number. Don't worry, I can still see you. I didn't block that one. I screenshotted it. I walked straight to my parents' room and woke them up that same night. We went to the police station that same night. This time, things moved faster. The officers took the screenshots, asked about my old landlord, my lease, my neighbors, anyone who might have had access to my personal information. They explained something that made my stomach turn. It's not hard to find someone's new address if you know their full name. Rental applications, utility transfers, forwarded mail, public databases. He didn't need to follow me. He could simply look me up. That thought made me feel naked, exposed in every possible way. For the next week, I stayed inside. I didn't go to the gym, didn't go shopping, didn't even check the mailbox alone. My father walked the perimeter of the house every night before bed. My mother kept lights on in every room, and I sat by the living room window staring out at the street, waiting to see that navy blue sedan again. One night, close to midnight, I did. It rolled slowly down our street, past our house, stopped at the end of the block, turned its headlights off, and sat watching. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I stayed on the couch with the lights off, only the soft glow of the porch lamp filtering through the curtains. My father sat in the armchair beside me with his phone in his hand. My mother slept upstairs, though I doubt she truly rested. Outside, the street was silent. The navy blue sedan stayed at the end of the block for nearly an hour. I watched its silhouette, a dark shape where no car should reasonably be parked for that long. No headlights, no interior light, no movement, just presence. Eventually, it rolled forward again, slow, quiet. It passed our house once more. I held my breath as it went by, as if the driver could sense me watching. Then it turned the corner and disappeared. We called the police immediately. By the time a patrol car arrived and searched the neighborhood, there was no sign of it. No cameras on nearby houses had caught a clear plate. No witnesses had noticed anything unusual. Again, I was left with fear and no proof. The officers advised us to stay vigilant, to call immediately if the car returned, to consider staying elsewhere for a while. But where could I go? I had already left one home behind because of him. I refused to let him take another. Days passed. No messages, no sightings, no cars. I started to breathe again, slowly, carefully, like someone testing ice on a frozen lake. After 2 weeks, I dared to go out alone for the first time. Just a short trip to the pharmacy, 10 minutes away. Daylight, busy roads. Nothing happened. The next day, I went to the grocery store. Again, nothing. By the end of the week, I almost believed it was over, that the lost sighting was his final attempt to scare me, that he had moved on. Until my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. One sentence. I see you getting braver. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I went numb. My fingers moved on instinct. Screenshot. Forward to the detective handling my case. Block number. A minute later, another text came from another new number. You never close your blinds. I turned slowly toward the living room window. The blinds were open. I hadn't realized. I crossed the room and snapped them shut so hard the plastic slats rattled. That night, my father insisted on sleeping downstairs with a baseball bat by his side. I stayed in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, listening for any sound outside. Somewhere around 3 a.m., I heard it. A car engine. Slow. Idling. I moved to the window without turning on the light. I pulled the blind open just enough to see through the gap. There it was. The navy blue sedan. Parked directly across the street. Facing our house. Headlights off. Engine running. I watched it for what felt like forever. Afraid to move. Afraid to breathe. Then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A faint blue glow from inside the car. A phone screen. Held up. Pointed toward our house. Toward me. I stumbled backward from the window. My father was awake instantly when I entered the living room. He didn't need an explanation. He saw my face. He grabbed his phone and dialed the police. By the time officers arrived, the car was gone. But this time, we had something new. Our porch camera. My father pulled up the footage. At 2:47 a.m., the navy blue sedan rolled into frame, slowed, parked, sat for 17 minutes, then left. The camera didn't catch the license plate clearly, but it caught enough. Enough for them to circulate it. Enough for them to take this very seriously. A week later, they called us. They had located the vehicle, abandoned in a warehouse district on the other side of town. No plates, no registration, stolen months earlier, wiped clean inside. No fingerprints, no DNA, just an empty car, waiting. After that, The messages stopped. No more texts, no more sightings, no more navy blue sedan. Time passed. Months. A year. I moved again, this time to another city, another state, a new name on my lease, a new job, a new routine. I never posted my location online, never used my real name on delivery apps, never left blinds open at night. I built a new life, carefully, quietly. And for a long time, nothing happened. Until last week. I was walking home from work, early evening, busy street, people around. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. One new message. I found your new window. I didn't look up. I didn't check my surroundings. I kept walking. Because deep down, I already knew. This was never over.